Good morning, everyone, everywhere. Hi, how you doing? My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service, and this is Ask a Traffic Cop, where you get to ask me questions about police, traffic law, and traffic safety, because that's what we do here. We're all about keeping you safe on the road, making the road safer for everybody, especially vulnerable road users. We want to announce and share important information, and stuff and things, whatever comes our way. If you've got questions, be sure to ask us, because we want to answer you. It's the whole concept of what we do here. Ask a traffic cop will answer you. And the show is never the same twice. Very often we get the same questions on a regular basis, but it's always different in some way, shape, or form. Let's get into things. First of all, we got some cool cars yesterday. Did you see the video? We got a couple of Dodge Chargers. They're amazing looking. Video is on TikTok. It's on all our social media. It is actually, I haven't had a chance to sit in them because I had to go live yesterday, but I did take a couple of videos and pictures, and now I want to go play with them. What can I tell you? So I can talk about this. Vision Zero Enforcement Team. Today, they are in 22 Division, 41 Division. Those are the neighborhoods of Etobicoke West Mall, Queensway, Dorset Park, Kennedy Park, Birchcliff, and Cliffside. That's where the team of dedicated enforcement professionals are out there trying to change behavior one ticket at a time. No hugs are given. They are not there to make friends. They are there to change behavior. So if you're speeding, if you're driving aggressively, if you're distracted, distracted on a cell phone or communication device, entertainment device, looking at Instagram, you're going to get a ticket. And of course, if you're going to be impaired when you're driving, you're looking to get arrested. And they don't take it lightly. That's a serious offense, as it should be. There are vulnerable road users out there. There are people who are just trying to get where they're going. They want to go home to their families at the end of the day. And someone choosing to drive in a manner that is known to lead to serious injury and death on our roads, totally unacceptable. There's no excuse for it, nor should there be. Sebastian says, good morning, coming in through Facebook. And JC says, I heard you on News Talk 1010 this morning. I was on News Talk 1010 this morning with Jerry Agar. We were chatting about motorcycles and the article that came out in the Toronto Sun that said in the last 10 years, the OPP had said 60% of the collisions involving motorcyclists, the motorcycle was at fault, or at least the rider was at fault. So that's an interesting conversation. Are motorcycle operators just more dangerous because they're causing collisions? I don't know. Very least, it certainly means you're in a higher risk of error. I was looking at some of our collisions in the last few years, and speeding was very often an issue, or where the rider just lost control, and it didn't specify speed or any other reason, but lost control. Stunt driving, somebody went up on lost control because they did something that was, took a wheel off the ground. They did a wheelie. And very often we have drivers who aren't paying attention. And May is Motorcycle Awareness Month, so talking about this is important and relevant because more motorcycles are hitting the road. I plan on being on a motorcycle very shortly. I want to get my bike on the road. Hasn't seen the road in many years. So I'm looking forward to being on the road, and I want everyone to be safe around me. I'm going to be safe too. So what else can we talk about? We're going to get into the questions. If you have questions for me, please use the Q&A function. That is the question mark in the bubble on TikTok. Same thing for the Q&A function on Instagram. And for anyone who hasn't already shared this with everybody they know, please share and follow us. Follow and share us. Yeah, use your social media to help share the word of traffic safety. Listen, we are not only telling people to be safe on the road, we're answering your traffic and police questions. We're trying to ensure that you know what's going on and what the rules are, so you can choose to do things knowing what the consequences are. You can listen to what I say and completely throw it out the window, and then at very least you've been informed, and then it's your fault. Listen, at the end of the day, if you're a licensed driver, you should know the rules. But sometimes things get confusing. We get it. The HTA is not an easy read, book for the nightstand for everybody. Just me. Okay. I see. Oh, and by the way, we have some magical moderators in the room. They are volunteers, not paid members of the service. They're not police officers. They are here to help you. They want to keep this room safe and easy going. It's a safe place where you can come and ask your questions. So we're hoping that nobody spams or trolls or makes life miserable for those that are here, because I don't even see it. So if you're trying to bother me, you're failing. Okay, Michael says, good morning. Nice new vehicles. It's like the old days with the Camaros patrolling the Don Valley. Absolutely. And I've got some great pictures I'm going to put up on the gram later, which are just that. If you want to follow us at Traffic Services Toronto on Instagram, myself, you can get me at VoiceOver Cop on Instagram. And yeah, great pictures that really do. They are a throwback to the Camaros of yesteryear. And I never got to drive the Camaros. I saw them, but I didn't get to drive them. Let's see here. Let's see what we go. Let me go into the Q&A and see what we have for questions. A good thing to get out of the way. Have you ever thought of becoming a member of the Toronto Police Service, becoming a police officer, parking enforcement officer, special constable? Maybe you have skills and abilities in the computer side of things. I even understand we're looking for some people with those analytical brains. Yeah, we're hiring all sorts of positions. Check out tps.ca/careers. That's tps.ca/careers. Like the new website? It's the new website. Check it out. Now, if you want information on any of the jobs that are available right now that we're currently hiring for, the information is going to be right there. And knowledge is power, and speed is important. Go apply before everybody else does. Okay. What is this? Can we? Oh, here we go. The single green plate. Question is, can we go in Hov Lane as a single with a green plate? Now I understand. Yes, if you have an electric vehicle that qualifies for a green plate and you have the green plate on the vehicle, you can use the Hov lanes in both the City of Toronto and on the 400 series highways as a single occupant. It's a great feature. It's a great benefit incentive to become an Hov or at least an electric vehicle user. So what qualifies for an Hov or a green? I keep saying Hov. Green plate. You have to have a plug-in electric hybrid or a number of other options, like a full electric vehicle. Now, the information for that is all available on the Ministry of Transportation website. Just Google Hov green plate, and it'll give you all the details of what's available. I want to buy an electric vehicle just so I can use the lane. Not going to lie. Can you run radar in rain and fog? There is a rain and fog mode on the devices. The range may be reduced, but it still functions. Here's the thing, and this was asked yesterday. Who in their right mind wants to speed in rain and fog? So you've reduced visibility and you've reduced traction. So if we are out there looking for speeders, in those you should get double fines because you know what? Speeding in rain and fog is silly. Speeding in breaking the law in any condition is silly. It leads to serious injury and death on our roads. You shouldn't be doing it, and that's just the truth. What can I do if a false allegation is made? Depends on what you're talking about. If you've been arrested because of it, get a good lawyer. But ultimately, it does happen, and hopefully you can make your case and convince the world that it wasn't you. But I don't know. You haven't given me enough to give you any advice. But definitely consult a lawyer. That's probably the best advice I can give you. Motorcycle, go ahead.
To clarify, when we have a full M license, it can act as a G1. But when we have a full G license, it cannot act as an M1, correct?
That is correct. If you have a G license that has nothing to do with motorcycles, however, if you have a full M, it does grant you the privileges of a G1, so you need to be supervised by a licensed driver, a fully licensed G-class driver with 4 years experience. And I happen to pull up the motorcycle what is this? Motorcycle license is an endorsement on G. Yeah, there's a driver's license and you have an endorsement or a classification on it. So you can have an M only or you can have a G only, and then you add and collect all the letters in the alphabet to get different things, but you can have one or many. At the end of the day, you still have only one license, and the letter denotes what you're allowed to operate legally. Yeah. Okay, let's have a look here. We've got folks coming in from Facebook. Okay. Tinto Tozy in Montreal says, how do you control weight of trucks? Because when truckers drive by, the road trembles. There are maximum ratings for different roads. So depending on where you are permitted to go to a certain level. What do we do? Well, we do inspections. Somebody fell down. What happened here? Yeah, so there's inspections, and we have vehicles that specialize in commercial vehicle enforcement. They will go out with portable scales and weight and measure or weigh the axles of trucks. And they do their math thing, and then they issue charges when it is appropriate. And very often on highways, there are scales where commercial vehicles have to go and get weighed. Okay. Matt Fever says, coming in from YouTube, I have a question. Why is it during summer and evening you have to follow 40 in school zones when no one is there? Speed limits are speed limits. Unless there is a sign that says only when flashing, then the speed limit is the speed limit. And the truth is, we are changing speed limits in the city of Toronto, lowering them to make it safer for pedestrians and the people who are living and using the space around them. So regardless if there are students present, you should be going slow in those neighborhoods because it's not a through street. It's not something that you should be using to speed around. People live there. So the risk is always there, even if there aren't an abundance of children at the time that you are there. There are people who think that it's safe. They ride bicycles, go for walks, and so on. It's a community. And there are areas that have only when flashing signs, and that's temporary. But it was very intentional when they chose to use that versus something else. Justin says, do your school buses have cameras to catch drivers that don't stop for the flashers? And what kind of ticket would that get? That's something that's new that's coming to Ontario. I've been hearing all about it, but I've not seen it in action. So I don't have specifics for you, but I understand that school buses in Ontario will be getting cameras, and I don't know if it's the city or province that's going to be issuing tickets based on that. But it's good because we see far too many violators who are making dangerous moves in and around school buses. And who are we transporting more often than not with school buses? Kids being the most important people in the world as far as I'm concerned. I have them and I'd do anything for mine. So I can't imagine life without them. And when you put kids in risk, in jeopardy, that's a serious deal. I know it's an emotional thing. It's not because it's logical. Everybody's important. Okay. Electric vehicles. We'll talk about that. We should talk more about that.
Can you get into? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. You just interrupt me. It's fine.
Can you get into the HOV lane at any time?
No, you can only enter the HOV lane in the designated openings where the hash marks are there. Now, hash marks or lines on the road are generally not enforceable in Ontario. However, HOV lanes have very specific areas and signs that do carry authority saying that you can't cross the double line with the hash mark within it. So those lanes is an offense to cross. Don't do it because you can get a ticket. What is this? I got a ticket. I got a handheld ticket for tap screen Uber ride. Right, because you're not exempt. Uber drivers are not permitted to use their handheld communication devices. And if you're using your device instead of driving, or unless you're legally parked, you're breaking the law. There's no exemption. The only thing you can do in a motor vehicle when you are operating a motor vehicle, the only device you can use is the momentary hang up or pick up of a phone call, or you can look at a screen in GPS mode, but you can't touch the screen, you can't operate it, you can't move things around. So if you were actively using it, yeah, you were actively using it and you were guilty of that offense. You can certainly take it to court and have a discussion about that because you may not agree with it, but that is the way that the law is read. There's no exemption for Uber drivers.
Backtracking on the HOV lane,
Okay.
what is the fine for crossing it when you're not allowed? And what is the fine for using the HOV when not allowed?
I keep forgetting what the fine is for the HOV lane. I assume that, disobeying a sign is $110. For using the lane when you shouldn't be using the lane, I think it's $150, but I forget. There's a lot of information coming in and out of, in the left ear and out the right ear. If it's not used while it's available, it disappears. Do speed cameras get you if you are 5 kilometers over? They might. Different jurisdictions are allowed to set their speeds for whatever they set their speeds for. So if you go 5 over, you are speeding, you are eligible for a ticket. Don't speed. That's the answer. But I don't know what the exact number is. And again, every jurisdiction is going to be different. They could make it 1 kilometer and over, and they'd be well within their rights to do that. Oh, really? It's only $110? Okay, using an HOV lane improperly, not in keeping with the conditions on the sign for whether you have enough people in the vehicle or so on, $110, not $150. I make up the number once in a while. No, I actually didn't know.
Plus the demerit points.
Oh, interesting. Conky on YouTube says, your voice is very loud, but my voice is very quiet. I don't know why that is. I'm already boosted. We're having audio issues here. I boosted mine up a little bit. I was recording some voiceover stuff earlier, and as a result, every piece of equipment I have sounds different. I plugged it into a Mac instead of a PC. Everything's gone wonky. I don't know why. I can try boosting up a little louder, see if that makes it better for anyone. But I have no explanation as to why this is happening. Oh, actually, maybe I do. USB out. Maybe I can boost it there. Okay, let me know if this is any better. I've tried boosting our audio a little bit to see if that corrects anything. It's possible people were dialing things over. Conky, is it better? How about now? Let me know. All right. Everybody okay? Everybody else okay with the audio on the other platforms?
TikTok's fine. Instagram's also fine. I think it's just the individuals that are connected through the restream that's a little
Okay.
bit lower.
Although I don't know why that is. They're getting a USB clean feed. It should be the best audio. But I even sound different in my own ears today. So, let's talk about kids throwing scooters over ledges. I'm not familiar with kids throwing scooters over ledges. There must be a story that I'm not privy to that I missed somehow. Okay. Can an international student apply for a police job? You must be to work for the Toronto Police and for police services in Ontario, you must be a permanent resident. But certainly contact each individual police service and see if there's different situations. There might be something I'm not aware of. This is not a question, but I love the police department. Well, the police department appreciates your love. It's very kind of you to say. Yeah, we appreciate support all the time. It is very kind. Okay. Okay, there we go. Conky says it's a little bit better. Very cool. Is front license plate necessary in Ontario? Yes, it is. You must have an Ontario license. Well, when you're issued Ontario license plates, they come in a pair. Both of them are required, front and back. They must be affixed in a specific way according to regulation. The front of your vehicle, the front bumper, and or front grille has to be the front of the vehicle, not the front windshield or the middle of the vehicle. Can't be on the hood facing up. Very specific place. The front in a conspicuous place, and it must be legible, free of obstruction. It has to be able to be read. The rear plate, similarly, must be in a conspicuous place and illuminated with a lamp no less than 3 lumens in power. It has to also be white light. Many people put on purple, green, orange, blue, all sorts of alternate light colors. Those are illegal.
You're going to love this one.
I'm sure I will.
I have no insurance, then got into an accident, then getting insurance right after without telling them.
I'm hoping this is what you think you're going to do as a plan to, as opposed to, and I'll be able to correct you as to how badly that will go for you. But yeah, so you don't have insurance, you're driving around. If you're stopped and we investigate or you're caught in any way, shape, or form, you are obviously going to be charged, and the consequence of that charge is going to be a fine of $5,000 to $25,000 for your first conviction. Additionally, you can get, I think it's up to 6 months in jail. Yes, it is. Either 6 months or 6 months, the money, or both. Okay, so what happens when you get into a collision and then call right away and say, I would like to have insurance, please? Well, insurance companies don't backtrack your insurance. They don't say that 9 a.m. as of this morning, you're covered. No, they record their calls, and the insurance is placed on the vehicle at the time of your call or at midnight, depending on what the policy of the insurance company is. They are not stupid. They don't insure your vehicle at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and say you're covered for a collision at 10 a.m. Yeah, no, that doesn't happen. Everything is recorded with them, and you're going to be SOL. So there you go. There's the answer. Drive with insurance.
What if they go back and they're like, oh, I got into an accident later after their insurance was already active?
That's a whole bunch of people who are going to be involved in that lie, like the other party who probably doesn't want to get involved with that, and witnesses and cameras, and we investigate things, and police get involved. We do investigate collisions, Don't skimp out on insurance, because you may find yourself paying for the rest of your life, not just because you got fines, but because when you are an uninsured driver and there's a collision and they sue you and you pay for millions of dollars out of pocket, it's a bad day at the office for you. Everyone wants to try and save a couple of bucks, but don't do it at the expense of insurance. That's the one place you want to pay full price for, no discounts. You want to make sure they are there for you when you need them. Okay. How do you go about joining the forces? If you mean forces as in the military, join the military. If you mean the police force, which is now a department or service, we have friendlier verbiage here. You can go to www.tps.ca/careers for all the information about all the jobs we are currently posting for. But we check back on a regular basis. We have different jobs at different times. And based on your question, here is a link on the screen for you to memorize. Commit to memory, yes, tps.ca/careers. And just in case you didn't know, we are currently broadcasting on TikTok, Instagram Live, and on this camera, we have YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn. What do we have here? LinkedIn, we have Twitter and Facebook. And apologies in advance. If you're watching on Twitter and you think I'm ignoring you, I'm not intentionally ignoring you. I can't actually see your comments because the API is not currently supporting, and you just gave me an idea actually. It's not currently supporting the restream to get your messages. So it's not that we don't want to. Oh, apparently Twitter just updated its terms of service. Let's see here. I am going to check and see if there's any comments. And if there's comments, I definitely want to see. There we go. I don't see anything. All right. Nothing there. All right. Moving on. TPS. Yeah, I saw that. Okay. Is it necessary to have a front plate? We just covered that. It is necessary. You must have it. Have a criminal record for drink what? I don't know what this question is. Is it illegal to transport flammable materials? Everything is pretty flammable. What kind of materials are you talking about? There's regulations for different types of things. Can you go on the highway with a G2? Yes, you can drive anywhere in the province of Ontario. You can drive interprovincially. You can also cross into the United States. You just have to follow all the conditions of a G2. If you are a motorcycle rider, even if you're not, if you're just a good human being, you know what you can do right now? You can buy tickets to the Harley Raffle. That's available at www.harleyraffle.ca. And what does that mean? It means that you might, by supporting that raffle, which supports Special Olympics Ontario, you have a chance to win a 2021 Harley-Davidson Street Glide. I think it's valued at about $31,000, somewhere in that area. But you know what? The website is going to tell you all the details. One ticket for $20. It's 3 tickets for $50. So that's a better deal. And again, supports Special Olympics Ontario. Good stuff. When can we switch to a booster seat? Check the manufacturer's guideline. There is a range based on age when you can be in and what is supported by the seat itself. So a rear-facing bucket, you want to keep them rear-facing as much as you can, as long as you can. Doctors, including my cousin Harrison, will say rear-facing till 4 years old. Well, that's not what most people do, but it is the suggestion from the people who know stuff about medicine. Rear-facing. Now, my children grew quickly. They grew quite large. I don't know why. And they went into a rear-facing convertible instead of the bucket because the bucket was far too small. Then once they were old enough and it was within the guidelines of the seat, and they went from the infant rear-facing to forward-facing, but still stayed in a proper car seat. And then eventually as they outgrew the maximum limits of that seat, we got into a bigger seat. And now they are in boosters. Now, booster can be the same thing as a seat with a different configuration for the seatbelt. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a different seat. And I like ones that have a lot of support and head protection and so on. So the safest seat that you can get, that you can afford, is the seat that I would suggest. Now, when can they get out of a booster seat? That is another question. And it is 8 years old, 80 pounds, or 4'9" in height. That is the legal requirement to sit in a seat without a child safety restraint or booster. It does not mean it's the safest option. I'll keep my kids in as long as humanly possible, which is when the seat no longer supports their size and weight. Apparently, we're having some issues with TikTok with intermittent lag, so apologies if TikTok is broken today. We're doing everything that we did yesterday, except today, nobody is cooperating. All right.
There's a good question in the Q&A, but I wanted to clarify. Does your supervisor know that you're doing this, and do you get paid for it? No. To be clear, they're not trying to be rude. They find it very helpful and knowledgeable.
No, not suggesting. I thought it was a very great way of phrasing it. So go on, take it from the top. Let's go do it again. I'll try not to laugh.
Okay. Does your supervisor know that you're doing this and you're getting paid for it?
Yes. That's the short answer. The long answer is we've been doing this every day, Monday to. We have a whole studio here. There's lights and cameras. Check out VoiceOver Cop on Instagram. You can see what the setup is. If I was doing this and they didn't know about it, I would be a magician because I'd be hiding a whole bunch of equipment that they bought me to do this properly. We have two phones, camera, subscriptions to services that do the streaming. Absolutely. I'm a media relations officer. I work in the traffic safety programs office of Toronto Police, and not only are they aware, but they absolutely support what we're doing. Prior to going live here on TikTok and all the other platforms, I was on the radio with News Talk 1010 Jerry Agar talking about motorcycle stuff. We are constantly communicating with the media and social media. It's what we do in this office, and we really had a lot of success. 565,000 plus people on TikTok alone. This is something that even the chief knows I'm doing, so it's very cool. I appreciate the question. Most of the time, the question comes in saying, "Go get a life, go get a job, go catch bad guys." But I appreciate the way you phrased it. But I do get a kick out of this particular question. And again, thanks for asking it. Okay, let's move on to questions. What is this? Can fog lights be blue, not blue like cop lights? No. Fog lights and headlights can only be yellow or white. That's the only colors permitted to be projected to the front on a motor vehicle in Ontario. Question is, so why do we need a G license after the G2? Well, a G2 expires. So when you get a learner's permit, it's good for a total of 5 years. It's not something you can just renew indefinitely, and there are conditions that you have when you have a G2. For instance, 0 BAC, and in the first year there's some other conditions when you're still a novice driver. In any case, a G-Class license is permanent as long as you maintain and pay for it. A G2 license ends at the end of the 5-year period. You cannot renew it and just maintain a G2. Not allowed.
How do you know if the handicap sign permit is valid or whether or not it actually belongs?
This is a great Aaron question, who happens to be in the vicinity, in earshot even. Would you want to come by and answer it, or do you want to yell the answer across the room? The question is, how do you know that a accessible permit is valid? And we're getting ready with a microphone that is getting some. There we go.
So valid for like the actual permit holder, or if it's expired?
Give it to us. Tell us.
Okay, so we have security features on the permit itself, which I cannot tell you, obviously, because then that would
super secret.
Yeah, we could defeat the whole purpose of it being a security feature. So yes, there is a security feature on there that we get trained on how to read, and we can decipher whether who the permit belongs to in terms of the sex of the person, male, female. The age, the year they were born in. So there's, like I said, there's a security feature on there, and then also there's a permit number, and also the ID of the person, of the permit holder, is on the back. So there should be a name and an address on the back of the permit. And if we ask to inspect the permit and you refuse, you can also get charged for that, for refusal to for inspection of permit, and then you can get charged over $5,000 if you're fraudulently using the permit.
So, is there also a database that you can check to make sure that the permit is valid?
Well, I think that would be through the Service Ontario, because they are the ones that give them to you. But in terms of just us figuring out if the permit belongs to you, then we can just ask to inspect it, or we can check that little code on the permit itself to see. But in terms of a database, most likely, probably the better person to ask that would be someone from the Disabled Liaison Unit.
Oh, yes, we have
specialty.
A specific unit that targets and polices this.
I haven't dealt with much of retaining permits. I think I've done it like once in my whole 7-year career. And yeah, so maybe we should bring one of them on.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
And we have a follow-up question. So if the permit holder, the driver is driving with the driver doesn't have the permit, the passenger is the permit holder, they're not in the car, what happens then?
Then the permit can be taken away. And the person that is the permit holder needs to be with you at all times. And if you're saying that, well, I'm just picking the person up, then I'm going to say, well, let's go and pick up whoever you're picking up. And if you fail to do that and you start sweating, then I obviously know you're lying.
Sweat is the key. It's illegal. Sweat's illegal in Ontario. The deal is that I've got a story about this. And a friend of mine who owns a restaurant dropped off his child with his wife at the door where they were going, and proceeded to park at an accessible spot, not realizing that he isn't eligible to use that accessible spot unless the permit holder, his child, was in the car at that moment. So he ended up losing his permit.
Oh, wow.
Because he was confused about that. It just wasn't clear. He thinks, he thought at the time that was a legitimate use, and he was wrong, and he learned, and we move on. But yeah, if you are, dropping somebody at the door, the reason for that permit is so they have a closer drive to the door, not you. So you can drive to the parking lot at the other end of the parking lot to get in. If you don't have that permit, you're not provided the benefit of that.
Of course, yeah. You can park in one of those spots to drop that person off, but once they have exited the vehicle, you have to take that permit off your dash and then go park properly somewhere else.
There you go. Can you pull a boat behind a camping trailer? No, you cannot. That's tandem towing, and you can't do it. And apparently people asking questions need a reminder. Please use the Q&A function. Do not ask questions in the chat unless you want an answer in the chat. And just in general, just ask us in the Q&A.
Not the words that I used, but okay.
Chasey says, did you get a new mic? You are super quiet today. No, we are having problems with audio, and it happened. I unplugged from my PC. I plugged into a Mac. It sounded quiet. I recorded my audio that I needed to record. I plugged it back into the PC, and now my levels are all messed up, and I don't know why. So thank you for rubbing it in. No, we're having technical difficulties that cannot be explained. Makes no sense. It's really loud in my ear, but apparently not for you guys. I'm going to try doing this. What if I up my USB out? Tell
Oh
me
my
if,
God.
Does that get louder for you?
Yes, my ears.
Was that
Stop,
is
I'm
that a
turning
bad
you down.
is that a bad louder?
No, okay, you're going back down to 100. Oh my God.
Okay, we're this. I'd never touch this dial. I'm of the set it and forget it. If I could glue switches in the perfect place after using, I don't know why things have changed, but they have changed. So tell me if this is better, Chasey. Is this better? Did the audio get better for you? Tell me. It looks like the meters are suddenly metering. Okay, so we talked about, can you pull a boat behind a camping trailer? So that's tandem towing, and no, you're not allowed to do it. There are situations that are permissible in commercial vehicles. That camping trailers and boats, not one of them. Motorcycle need to know how to steer, stop, target, fixation. Okay, we're talking about motorcycle safety. Yes, take a training course. If you are a rider, if you are new to riding, if you are an experienced rider and you are not someone who has recently ridden, you know what? If you just put it away for the winter, go and practice and continuing your education. As a motor squad guy, as a professional rider, I can tell you that we train constantly throughout the year, and then we are tested on a regular basis to make sure that we have maintained the skills and abilities to perform our duties as a police officer on a motorcycle, because we acknowledge that it is a high risk vehicle, that we are not as protected as if we were in a car. So yeah, you need to know where you look where you want to go, because target fixation is very real. And that's why if there is a pole, you will hit it because you're going to stare right at it. And where you look is where you'll go. That's how it works. So yeah, we can do a whole thing all about motorcycle. In fact, you just gave me an inspiration. We're going to do a podcast episode specifically with our education team from the motor. Somebody fell and dropped something. That was loud.
Yeah, they're doing some work in the hallway.
Hallway work. It happens. What is this? Crosswalks that have standard traffic lights. I approach on the road on a side street that has a crosswalk. Now we're going to have printers. Somebody's printing. There's no printing between 10 and 11, I tell you. Watch them print a book. I'm plugging that printer. Okay. Okay, let's go back. Rewind. They really are printing a book. I'm going to stare at them when they come in and give them guilt. What do you think? Stare at them with me.
You gotta stare them down, though. Like,
stare them down like
through your eyebrows.
Yeah? So work?
Wish I could raise my eyebrow like that.
You can't raise your eyebrow like that?
Watch it be like the superintendent.
Yeah. Superintendent's got a fancy printer. He's got his own printer. He doesn't need my printer. Okay. So I'm going to try and reread. This is a long message from Randy. Crosswalks that have standard traffic lights approaching the road on the side of the street that has a crosswalk across a stoplight. This is very long. See next. Okay. The light is currently red and the pedestrian is crossed. Can the side street driver now turn right through the walkway before the light turns green? Okay. I think what we're talking about is a standard signalized intersection, and truly it's the same as a stop sign. Pedestrians that are legally crossing have the right of way. You must yield to the pedestrian who is legally crossing. So if they have crossed your side of the road and are now proceeding on the other side of the road, you can make your turn, or if you're in a situation where it would be a stop sign, you could continue through. If they were walking towards you, you would need to wait. Now, this changes if you have a crossing guard in the intersection, because with a crossing guard, you must wait until all persons are off the road. They've got their stop stick or their stop sign. That changes the dynamics of that crossing. You can't just go. You must wait until the crossing guard has left the intersection with everybody. If you are talking about what they call a pedestrian crossover, which is not in conjunction with a signalized intersection. Stop stick is different, yeah. It's not the same as a signalized intersection. We're talking about an independent crosswalk that has lighting that says PXO. That those intersections, or those not intersections, those crossings, you must wait until all persons have left the roadway. And that's different. You get a ticket for going through if they're in any portion of the road still. Okay. Question from A.M. Arsalan. Did I say that right? I hope I said it right. Okay. My sister got 2 tickets for speeding and stunt driving, 91 and a 50. She got suspended and the car got impounded for 2 weeks. What should we do for that and get back the driver's license and the car? This is a good question. And unfortunately, what happened? Did it disappear? I tried to. Okay, it's not coming up on screen. In any case, the deal is that you must you must wait the 14 days before you're allowed to pick up the vehicle. The impound lot will not release the vehicle to you. The driver's license that was suspended, you need to go to a Ministry of Transportation location or a Ministry Ontario Service Ontario location, and you have to pay a reinstatement fee after the suspension is complete. That is it. That is all. Now, that driver obviously doesn't have to be the one to pick up the vehicle once the suspension is over, because they will be unlicensed for an additional number of days. But that's pretty much it. Now, in terms of what you do with that ticket and how you deal with the charges, is you need to attend court on the date of that are listed on the face of that ticket. That is the deal. Hope that answers your questions. If you have more questions, feel free to ask. What do we have here?
I have a question.
Okay, fine.
Single lane with a bicycle lane. Vehicle in front needs to make a left-hand turn. Can I use the bicycle lane to pass the vehicle that makes a left-hand turn?
No.
No.
Unless there are hash marks like at
But
the
that,
intersection.
not to pass
Oh,
the
no,
vehicle.
no, not to pass the vehicle. If it's
No.
sorry, yes, I'm picturing it in my head. Single lane vehicle. Absolutely not. A bike lane is for bicycles.
And
yeah.
generally on a one-way road, when you're single lane one way, that bicycle lane is going to be a contra lane most often than not. If it's on the left-hand side, because you're talking about passing.
Oh, yeah, the left
It's
hand.
contra.
Yeah.
That means that bicycles are coming the other way. Absolutely not. You cannot use this bicycle lane for passing. The time that you can enter a bicycle lane, and it is a bicycle lane, not a bicycle track, is where there is a hash mark at an intersection that designates that the person making right can use that to squeeze it so that cyclists can then pass on the left safely. And it identifies that you're slowing down, but you have to do that safely and also be weary of the fact that cyclists could be in that lane. You have to do everything safely. Yeah.
Just be
wow.
patient.
That was a
Wait your
scary question.
turn.
I have trauma.
Yeah. That was a
just
traumatic question.
Visualizing that. It's such a bad idea. Okay. Greetings and salutations from Aquila Draconis. Big Jeff Fresh comes in from YouTube, says, hey-yo. And Sebastian says, have you ever stopped someone for speeding and it turns out they're having an emergency, specifically in labor? So here's the deal. I have people who have had emergencies, not specifically in labor, thankfully, but I have stopped people, and everybody has a belief that there's an emergency. In fact, I used to talk to people all the time who thought that calling their caregiver at home or the babysitter to tell them to feed the cat was an emergency. There's all sorts of things that may appear to be urgent to you that are not an emergency. And a cut finger, not an emergency, but people drive like it is because panic and stress and all these things come in. Ambulance. If it really is an emergency, we call an ambulance. We do not do escorts. We do not say, follow me, and light it up and say, let's go, and yeehaw, and wave my hat out the window. It does not happen. It is not safe. It is not something that the driver is trained to do and be involved in. It is not something that we are taking liability of, and it is not the best thing for the patient who needs immediate care. What we do in those situations is we administer ourselves first aid, because we're all trained in first aid. We do everything we can do until first aid comes, and guess what? We're in the city of Toronto. First aid comes fast in the form of a fire. Fire is magical. They appear out of nowhere. There must be a fire truck under every rock in the city, because they show up before anybody else, and then ambulance shows up. And we've now at that point, you've got a stabilized patient who is prepared to be transported by a paramedic, providing paramedicine, providing that urgent care. It's like a time machine. They are able to slow things down so that they can get to the hospital safely and without putting unnecessary risk to that patient. So no, we don't just say, let's go. We slow it down. Slowing down is better. Speed kills. Okay. What is this? I don't know what this is. Let's see here. What happened to the lane filtering project? There was discussion a number of years ago about making lane filtering legal. It's not. It has not come to fruition. There was discussion about it, but I don't think anything has happened to it. And have you seen the drivers here? I don't know if it's a good idea. Honestly, we have so many issues that adding more potential harm or risk is not a good idea. Maybe they'll come back. Maybe we'll widen all the roads. Los Angeles has very wide roads. I got 2 tickets. Can you help? Because we're friends. What did you get tickets for? Tell me about it. Can you
If you
talk
were friends,
about?
you wouldn't get tickets in the first place. Come on now.
Well, Can you talk about legality of underglow? And by the way, I would ticket friends because they know better. I'm a traffic cop, and I'm a fairly well-known traffic cop. So if I was pulling you over, you'd be getting a ticket. Okay, just saying. Can you talk about the legality of underglow? Underglow is not specifically illegal. However, improperly installed underglow or underglow that is blinking or flashing or intermittently flashing to music and pointed in the wrong direction could be a violation of other areas of law. Like, for instance, if you're projecting light forward, it's an improper headlight. If you're putting it to the rear, then it could be an improper lighting in the rear. There's a ton of different things that it could be an issue for, but just having underglow is not illegal. Can I drive in the U.S. with a temporary G license? Yes, it is an actual license, and as long as you are following the rules on whatever it says, if it says it's with a photo card, without a photo card, they are valid. It doesn't limit you as to where. Although it is much easier if you have your actual photo card, because then they don't look at you funny and then investigate for a long time. But it is legal. I don't know if this was the same person who asked if does your supervisor know you do this and do you get paid? So yes and yes. Yes. It is the same person? Okay. Yes, yes, and yes. To get your M license, do you need your full G? No, they are independent. You can get a license for a motorcycle and never get a license for a car. M is what is required for motorcycle license, and many people start with that. And when you get your full M, it does give you the learner's permit G1 functionality. So if you then later transition to, or if you just find yourself needing to drive a car with an approved driver with you, you have that opportunity. We talked about this. Okay, thoughts on 110-kilometer highways. If it's legal because the powers that be have determined it's legal, then it's legal and I'm okay with it. If you're speeding, however, I am not okay with it. That's it. I don't make the laws. I don't dictate what the engineers say is safe. If they have determined that that is the new speed, then that is the speed that I would enforce. But I would hope at that point that no one would exceed that speed. The problem is that no one cares anymore. Everyone just makes up their own rules and speeds. So if the average is 20 over at 110 in a 100 zone, making the average speed on the highway at least 120, will they do 20 over when it's 110, making the average speed 130? If that's the case, I would be against raising the speed limit because nobody's dealing with it. No one's following the law anyway. So I think we need much stricter enforcement on all roads. But I don't have a popular opinion, apparently. Let's see here. Is checking maps considered distracted driving? No, but it may be. It might be. What's it called? Careless driving. It's a different charge, but it's still applicable. Distracted driving is specific to handheld communication device, handheld entertainment device, and looking at the screen of somebody else's device. A map is not completely not permitted. It's smarter to pull over and look at it when you're not driving because maps are itty bitty. You need a magnifying glass. Maybe they have big maps. They have big maps too. I used to own a map. I had a Pearlie's big type Pearlie's. I
remember the old school paper maps.
Every police car used to have a Pearlie's map. In any case, it's not distracted, but if it affects your ability to drive, it's going to be careless, which actually is more demerit points than that of a distracted charge. What's your dream car? It's one that I can fit into that's got a comfy seat and heated and cooled and an excellent sound system. I think I want an F-150 Lightning. I think so. I think that's what I want. I don't have one. I haven't ordered one. I do have it. I am on the reserve list for a Cybertruck.
I was just gonna say, I'm like, don't you want one of those weird-looking Cybertrucks?
I think it looks cool, and it's bulletproof-ish. It's bulletproof-ish.
Ish. Yeah.
Well, during the sample, they broke the window when they threw the ball at it, but apparently it was like the 50th time that they had done it, but whatever. What is this? Why do countdown to 0 then stay green? Oh, okay. Intersections that have a countdown for pedestrian crossing and then the hand stops flashing and it goes back to green. Those are based on a trigger for when someone pulls up to the light. So a car comes up, it starts to go through a cycle to prepare to change to red. Well, when the driver makes a right-hand turn, that sensor resets and it knows that no one's there. So why change the signal? It goes back to green. It's efficiently moving traffic around our city. We talked about lane filtering already. Have you ever run into any haunted ghost scenarios?
a random question.
It's a new one for the show. I can't say that I have. I did work at Old City Hall as a supervisor in court services, and I heard lots of stories. Never had any experiences firsthand, though. But they say it's haunted. Apparently, they used to execute people there. I'm not, or had a morgue there.
Yeah.
I don't know the details, but I never saw anything firsthand. I looked for it. It was interesting. Everyone told me stories. I'm like, okay, bring it. But nobody brung it.
No one brung it.
Let's see here. Do you need to have a baffle and a motorcycle exhaust? Yes, motorcycles are required to adhere to all the rules of exhaust systems as any other vehicle. Now, in Toronto or in Ontario, 74 decibels at idle for motor vehicles. I believe that applies to motorcycles as well. However, there is a bylaw in addition that says you can't have more than 92 decibels at idle in Toronto specifically. What are we saying about IG? IG is still rolling.
Do they have QAs?
Oh, is that what you meant?
Yes,
we
sir.
talked about the 2 tickets. That decode. Some duplicates of okay. Okay, let's go back to the what was I saying? Before I got the IG message. So baffles. If you are creating unnecessary noise, whether it be in a truck, car, motorcycle, by way of your stereo, your exhaust, your horn, or squealing your tires, which is also stunt, you're eligible regardless. So yes, baffles are required. We got questions here. Thank you, officer. The car got towed at 5 p.m. At that time. We can pick up 2 weeks after. Okay, yeah. You need to check with them to see when you can pick it up, what the hold is registered to. Okay, what is the red license plate with white writing? What you've described is a diplomatic plate that's assigned to a vehicle associated to a diplomat, somebody working at a whatchamacallit. You know what I'm talking about, a diplomat. What am I thinking of? The word, tip of tongue, can't come out. Yeah, they represent their government. And what is the place called? It's called a Q. Anybody? Bueller? No, really? Nobody knows?
Did you say Bueller?
Bueller. Are you too young to know Ferris Bueller? Really? Come on. Bueller. No? Crickets. What am I thinking of? It's the... Anyway, they just reopened it in... Anyway, I'm at a loss. I can't think of the word. Moving on. Does red light camera take license plate rear or front, or just rear? Takes rear, from what I understand. They're all situated behind you. They're all facing the back of the vehicle. Now my eyes bother. Embassy, thank you. So, embassy, the word escaped me. Thank you very much, Cleaner20. I appreciate it. Occasionally, words, they don't work.
Why did you not say building?
What's that?
Why did you not say building? I had no idea where you were going.
You didn't know what I was talking about. Embassy was the word that I could not think of. And Q's like, but you never said building. That's why I didn't know. Okay, let's see here. Does my license renew if I get my G2? What do you mean? If you get your I've heard people who have had their G2 their G2 term extended because they went from a G1 to a G2, which would make sense because once you get if your G1 gives you a total of 5 years and you get your G2 4.5 years in, well, obviously you have no chance of getting your G. So I would hope that it would extend, but I don't know the details. You need to contact the folks at drivetest.ca. Can you explain the improper muffler ticket? If your muffler don't muffle, it's improper. If your muffler isn't a one that meets the requirements of the province, it's improper. If you don't have a muffler at all, you get a ticket for no muffler. If you have, I don't think it's an improper muffler ticket. I think it's improper exhaust. Now I'm going to look it up because now you done got me interested to know. There's a whole bunch of stuff related to that, and it's going to be exhaust. Yeah, so there's no, so it's, you're right, it's improper muffler. And I'll read you what it says for improper muffler. Every motor vehicle or motor-assisted bicycle shall be equipped with a muffler in good working order and in constant operation to prevent excessive or unusual noise and excessive smoke. No person shall use a muffler cutout, straight exhaust, cutted muffler, Hollywood muffler, bypass, or similar device on a motor vehicle or motor-assisted bicycle. There you go. If it don't do what it's supposed to do, it ain't doing it. Okay.
Can I wheelie?
Oh, no. Wheelies are stunt driving. If you intentionally take a wheel off the road, you are stunt driving, and obviously it doesn't apply to bicycles. But if it's a motor vehicle, removing any wheel from the road is going to be a stunt driving charge, 14-day impound, 30-day suspension on your license, and a whole bunch of stuff that happens afterwards. 1 to 3 years suspension on your license after court, after conviction, $2,000 to $10,000 fine. I think it's $2,000 to $10,000, maybe $1,000 to $10,000, and up to 6 months in jail. So don't do that. It's pure silly.
What about
and
pedal
super
bikes?
Dangerous. Pedal bikes pedal bikes that are not motor vehicles don't count. Any advice for a police foundation student? Study. Stay on task. Don't get tickets, so don't drive in a way that would get tickets, because becoming a police officer is very much tied to having a good driving record. We won't give you a gun and a badge and ask you to enforce the Highway Traffic Act if you yourself don't follow the rules of the Highway Traffic Act. Stay in shape and keep up to date with all of your stuff and things, because obviously you don't know how long you are going to be applying after you finish school. Could be a long time, could be a hiring freeze. Don't see that anytime soon, but you never know. We talked about this already. Okay. So am I allowed to wheelie my dirt bike on a closed course? If it's a track, then stunt driving laws don't apply. However, if it's on private property, closed or not closed, private property is now covered under the Highway Traffic Act, and that's technically stunt driving. So I would be concerned. I would not be doing that unless it's a track. Let's see here. Is it legal to light tint your headlights? Yes, it is. You can only have a yellow or white colored light. You can't tint your headlights. Do I have to have a license to drive on a track? If you're talking about dirt bikes, you don't need a motor vehicle license for the road to drive on a track because it's off-road. So no, you don't need one. And there's children who drive on tracks. So the two exemptions are go-kart track and racing track. Okay. Kids are riding dirt bikes on the street I live. Call police. You can put in a complaint online as well. If it's in Toronto, you can go to www.tps.ca/CORE. CORE, that's the Citizen Online Report Entry. That's for putting in community complaints. If we find out that there's kids riding bikes, motorcycles, motor vehicles that are dirt bikes off-road only on the street, we'll come in and we'll deal with it and probably end up charging their parents. Mind you, we could also charge the kids, depending on their age. Does speed camera, what is this? The speed/red light cam take pic of just the plate and person? It takes a picture of the license plate, and it's the license plate that relates to the vehicle, and the person who's responsible for paying the fines is the registered owner, not the driver. We don't take pictures of the person. They may be visible, but in some pictures, but it's not that person who'd be charged. It is the owner of the vehicle under those specific laws, because the red light camera and the speed photo speed radar, or whatever it's called, charge, I can't remember what the actual wording is, those are different than speeding and fail to stop or disobey a red light, or fail to stop, what is it now, for running a red light. They're different charges and they have different consequences. Okay. Smaller electric vehicles are all over. New laws, different electric vehicles, different rules. So, for instance, e-bikes, very specifically, and legal. In Toronto, you can have an e-bike, and in Ontario, they're legal as long as they meet their grades. So, no more than 32 kilometers an hour, not capable of going over 32 kilometers an hour, and no more than a 500-watt motor. Google what the e-bike requirements are for that. And if you're talking about balance wheels and one wheels and electric kick scooters and all sorts of variations, those are not legal at all whatsoever. Kick scooters, e-kick scooters that meet a e-kick scooter pilot regulations are available to use within the areas that allow them. City of Toronto says they're not allowed, so you can get a fine for using a vehicle on the road that isn't legal. That's a $60 fine. I don't know how many people have been issued it, but it is eligible to be written. It's a ton of people who are violating that rule every day. If you go to Mississauga, they've totally adapted it and said it's okay. Electric unicycles or balance wheels, or what are those other things called? The two-wheel ones with I can't remember what it's called. The mall cop one. That's a Segway. those are illegal. They're not permitted to be used on the roads or any parks or anywhere. If you take an e-kick scooter and install a seat on it because you don't want to sit down, that's why you put seats on things, that becomes a motorcycle. That becomes a motor vehicle, and you're entirely required to have license, ownership, and insurance to use that kick scooter. So tons of different rules. Don't buy one thinking you're going to use it in Toronto. You may find yourself getting charged, and it will be very expensive for some things. Other things, not so much. But still, find out the rules. Know before you go. It's like, what is it? What do they say? They say no before you drill? What's the one about the hydro lines? Dig? Something, I thought it rhymed, but maybe not. What do we have here? At what point is a cracked window a problem? As soon as there's a crack in it. Depends on the officer to make the determination as to whether or not it's safe. I have spoken to many an officer who says, I see a chip or a crack, it is unsafe. It's also reasonable to me to say, you're going to fix it, go fix it. But if you get a warning for it, and then every officer has discretion. They may or may not buy your story. They may choose to, say or to believe that it's an old thing that you haven't fixed and chosen not to. If it's a spider web across the whole thing, I'm not even giving you a warning. You're getting a ticket, because chips that start small get big fast. Okay. Legality of a lowered car, how low can it be? It's a good question. So lowered vehicles are not just because they're lower than stock, doesn't make them illegal. If they've been lowered beyond 1.5 inches from factory, apparently they're not safe according to the what is it called? A light truck and passenger vehicle guide that mechanics use to safety vehicles. So they wouldn't safety it. I have no idea what 1.5 inches down from factory looks like. What I, as an officer on the road, looking for is whether or not you have body contact when you are lock to lock or compression of your suspension. Now, if I go to push your suspension and it's rock solid, there's no movement, that's a problem. If your body, if any of the body of your vehicle comes into contact with the road, that's an issue too. If you were to go up a 1-inch curb and you're grinding, I got a problem with that. So yeah, it depends. And it's not that there's no law that says thou shalt not lower your vehicle too much. It's a determination that the vehicle is unsafe based on the officer's observations, at which point they pull your plates, they return them to the ministry, you need to go and get safetied, and that's on you. Is lane splitting for motorcycles illegal? Yes, it is. It's called careless driving. It's unsafe. It's not a safe practice. If it's in motion, which is called lane splitting, that it is often something considered careless driving. Hey, Instagram is timing down. You got 1 minute and 54 seconds left before Instagram determines that you can't watch us anymore because we haven't been verified and given that golden all day long live stream ability. Yeah, it's a thing. We applied, but they've ignored us. So you're going to be disappearing in 1 minute and 40 seconds. We'll see you tomorrow from 10 to 11 when we do this all over again. But when you go, you go. If you want to jump back on to YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and keep watching, you're welcome to join us elsewhere. But if you insist on using this platform, you're limited to an hour. Okay. Speed cameras go off. What is it? Speed cameras go off when going how much over? I don't know. Every jurisdiction sets their own limits. Don't speed. Consulate or embassy? Thank you. Consulate was actually the word I was looking for. Thank you, Michael. I was absolutely drawing a blank when I was trying to remember what that was called. I don't know. Sometimes words, they escape me. It happens. I remember a lot of words, good words, in fact, and occasionally words when you think about something too much, it's there, locked up, can't leave the tongue. Okay. I own an electric golf cart. Can I drive it on city roads? No, you cannot. Golf carts are not permitted to be operated on the road, period. It is different than some specific vehicles that are permitted to. In short, there's a pilot that's going on, but it doesn't include golf carts. Can you show proof of insurance through an app? Yes, in Ontario you can use an app if it was provided by your insurance company. You can't use an app that stores pictures of your pink card. There. Can bicycles lane split? Yes, bicycles can stay to the right of a lane. They're entitled to do that, and you have to give them 1 meter space when you are passing them. That's an interesting question, Aaron. Motorcycles can't split a lane legally, driving to the right side of the lane and passing vehicles. That's dangerous. Why do you think bicycles can do it?
Because they don't they're not required a license.
I don't think it's a
Which-
safe practice. Mike.
No, I don't think it is either. And so, like, if you're referring to, like, lane split, like when I think of lane splitting, I think of like weaving in and out of the lane.
Even
that
if you were just going to drive between two lanes. Now, let me rephrase. A bicycle cannot ride between lane 1 and 2 down the middle. And that's what most people do when they split the lane. They go between. What cyclists tend to do is stay to the right side of the curb, or to the right curb, and ride down. Even when traffic is stopped or moving slowly, they'll buzz down. It's unsafe. Should they be in traffic, it's safer for them to wait their turn, and as a vehicle passes them, they give them 1 meter space. But cyclists are putting themselves at risk when they do that.
all the time.
It is not a good thing to do, but it's not something that I want to find out from the powers that be if it's actually, maybe it is an offense, and I've just assumed it's okay.
Maybe. I don't know, but
You've opened a can of worms here, I can tell you, mister.
it's the constant tug of war between drivers and cyclists all the time.
But we do want people to be safe. That's the whole goal of every day.
Yeah.
Is we don't want someone getting hurt. These are all avoidable things, and cyclists, unfortunately, when they're involved in collisions, it tends to go very poorly for them. They get more hurt than someone who is in another car. You can buff out some scratch. You can pull a dent. Legs break. People get squished. It's very bad. Why do people want low cars? There are potholes here. Yes, I don't know. I don't understand the low car phenomenon. My knees don't like me now. I drive a truck. If I were to get a little car, I would be in constant pain and paying a lot more for Tylenol refills. Let's see here. Oh, we're over time already. I didn't realize the time. What's the rules and laws for solid yellow lines? Here's the deal with lines in general. They're a suggestion unless they are supported by a regulated sign that dictates you can't cross them. White lines mean that the other side of the line has vehicles traveling in the same direction as you. Yellow lines mean that the people on the other side of that line are traveling in the opposing direction as you. Solid lines suggest it is not safe to cross. Dotted lines means it is. At the end of the day, you're responsible for everything you do. You can't get a ticket for crossing the line again unless there's a regulated sign stating you can't do it, like on the 401, related to HOV lanes. But that's it. So if you choose to cross the line against the suggestion of the solid one, and you cause a collision, guess what? You just caused a collision, and you're responsible for what you did. You even had a warning in the form of a line. Can I register my car in another province than Ontario? I think you mean, like, can I register it in another province and then drive in Ontario? And that's usually done for insurance fraud. Yeah, it's illegal. You can, if you live in the other province and then you drive here while visiting and then drive back, but your primary residence is there, then you can. But you cannot register it in Quebec, for instance, and just use it forever in Ontario. That's, again, insurance fraud. If you have lived in the province or you currently reside in the province, even temporarily for more than 60 days, you have to change your driver's license and everything involved to Ontario. You can't just hang out. You have become a resident. Are window stickers / banners illegal? If they're on the windshield, yes. If they're elsewhere in the vehicle, as long as they're not obstructing driver view, then no. If you have a sticker anywhere inside the area swept by the windshield wipers, that is going to be something that's obstructing your view, and it is illegal. If it's the rear window, you can paint your rear windows black, like opaque, no light coming through. That's legal as long as you have a rear view mirror that allows you to see to the rear of the vehicle. GPS dash cam, are they considered view blocker? Yes, they are. That's an obstruction of your view. Okay. Pressing this button. What do we have here? Looking for a zinger. Is it illegal to ride a bicycle without a helmet? Depends on your age. If you're 18 or over, it is not a legal requirement in the province of Ontario. However, I would strongly suggest that you wear one because protecting this computer, it's important. It's kind of who you are. You fall down and you break your brain, life will never be the same. And minor collisions or even just losing your balance while standing still on a bicycle, people have fallen down and never regained consciousness because they struck their head on a curb. So helmets are a real lifesaver. They really are important. So if you're under the age of 18, so you're 17 or younger, it is legally a requirement for you to wear a helmet while riding a bicycle in Ontario. If you are 17, actually, this is a discussion with parents or with Sergeant Campbell, because I have always said that if you're 16 or 17, you get a ticket. If you're younger, your parent or guardian gets the ticket. That's not exactly accurate. If you're under the age of 16, there'll be a notice to your parent in addition to you getting the charge. And if you're under the age of 12, I think that's when the parents are going to get the ticket. In any case, wear a helmet. Protect your computer. It's silly not to. Nobody cares about your hair. We care about your computer, like the one in here. Okay. Most memorable... This is how we're going to close the show. Most memorable moment being a police officer. I have two. I have one when I was an auxiliary officer, and then I have a catalog of them as a police officer. And I mean, these are feel-good ones, not sad ones, because I got those too. But feel-good ones. I was an auxiliary officer. A police auxiliary is a volunteer member, not a police officer, but a civilian who wears a uniform and volunteers their time to contribute to the community. I did that for 12 years. 1 year, I was riding a police motorcycle, and I was traveling westbound on Queen Street, and I came up to Spadina. Spadina? Yeah, Spadina. Also, actually, properly pronounced Spadina. Who knew? So I came up to the intersection, and a kid, who I'm assuming was properly seatbelted, was totally pressed up against the glass, just totally excited about police motorcycles. And I gave him the thumbs up, and his face just had the biggest smile ever. And that was something that really stuck with me, that we were able to have that kind of engagement and change someone's day or make an experience for someone that was so positive. It was really cool. That was my pre-police one. And then the most rewarding single moment that I can remember is being involved as a motor squad officer with the Invictus Games in 2017, where I was escorting with teams of police officers from other police services. I was teamed with two guys from the OPP, and we would escort buses transporting athletes. These are athletes who have been injured, whether mentally or physically, in service to their country, and they're involved in sport. And I remember taking one team to their venue, and a American soldier came off the bus and came to thank me for my service. I believe he had one arm and one leg, and he had prosthetics, and he thanked me for my service. And that was just something that would never. That was like I couldn't. I said to him, "I'm a traffic guy. I got you somewhere quick, and I give people tickets and I investigate collisions. But it's your service that I thank you for." That moment really affected me. But there were tons of fantastic experiences in relation to that. But that one in particular, one that I'll never forget. Okay, with that, I say we're saying goodbye. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll do this all over again. Tomorrow will be Thursday, which is like Friday Junior. Yeah, we do this every day, Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And tomorrow I had a podcast scheduled to be recorded today after this show, and they had to cancel. So I'm free. If I got a podcast guest today, let me know. If you're watching and you think you got something we should talk about, let me know. But John had to cancel, so that means I'm free this afternoon. Tomorrow I do have a podcast guest scheduled. Now it's going to be a pre-recorded show. Won't be airing tomorrow. I don't think it'll be airing tomorrow. And then we'll play it on the weekend, because that's going to be the next episode of TPS Traffic Jam. You should be following it. You should subscribe to that. I should have talked about that like 6 times today, but I didn't. In any case, have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow. Stay safe. Bye, Erin.
Bye.
I'm going to still see Erin because she's actually here.
10, 9,
Okay, bye.
8, 7,
Thank you.
6, 5,
Racing Squad, thanks very much. Appreciate it.
3, 2,
Nana. It's the final countdown.